The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. Troy Warner here, and it is the tipping podcast. The team lists have dropped for round number 21, certainly getting down to the nitty-gritty of this NRL season. So every game from now on will be important for a lot of teams. Some teams, like my own, probably not, but other teams, yes, very important as the makeup of that top four and that top eight takes shape, as a lot of the teams are on very similar points and going into this round. So a loss at this stage of the season could be it will be not very good, as you do not want to lose touch with that top eight. As we've seen the Dolphins, they were up the top four, they slowly crept down, and they are now in 7th spot on 24 points with the Bulldogs, the Dolphins, the Cowboys, and the Dragons. So, look, it is very congested from about 4th down to, you could say, 10th. With the Raiders, the Broncos on 20 points, they still may have a chance, as do the Rabbitohs, but they will do it very, very tough. But anyway, to this week's games, and it kicks off with the West Tigers going over to New Zealand, taking on the New Zealand Warriors at Go Media Stadium, Friday, 6 p.m. Australian time. And look, a few changes for the Warriors. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck moves from the wing to fullback. Tan Tuapiki has a head knock. Ed Cozzy comes onto the wing as well. So, good to see that change. I think Roger is a fullback. He has played most of the season at centre with, obviously, with no chance. Nickel Clockstar playing fullback in this game. He is still out, so Roger has gone back to the fullback position. Won a Dally M there a few years ago now, so great to see him back at fullback. For the Tigers, Adam Dewey is being rested. Star Toa returns in the centres. Latu Fane takes over from Aiden Caesar, who is suspended at halfback. And their inspirational leader, I guess you could say, Api Coruscant, he returns from a calf injury. So Talanta Silva, who had a great game against South Sydney, was one of their better players, the Tigers. He moves back to the bench. Isaiah Papali'i, who was leaving the Tigers at the end of the year to join the Penrith Panthers, is also back from an ankle injury as well. So a few changes there. David Clemmer has an ankle injury as well. So, look, a very young, we keep on saying this every week, a very young Tigers squad. They are coming last on the competition at the moment. They are in 17th spot. They will not want to get the wooden spoon. But, look, they are playing good footy. I'll give them that. They are playing good footy. Unfortunately, they are just not getting the wins. I mean, they lost to the Rabbitohs last week, and that was 42 points to 28, and you would like to think that any team who scores 28 points would go on to win a game of rugby league. So, look, very tough for the Tigers this season. The last time they played, this is the first time they played this year. So last year they played in August, so around about the same sort of time. The Warriors got the win at Leichhardt, I think it was, 30 points to 22. And the Warriors got the previous win the previous year. So it looks like they only play once a year at the moment. The Warriors got the win in 2022. And could you believe it? 22 points to 2. A lot of twos there. Richie Beno would be happy about that one. But in this one, I think I will tip the Warriors back at home. Look, they're in 14th spot. They do have a lot to play for to try and get into that top 8. They are on 19 points at the moment. 5 points out of the 8. But look, it's going to be very tough for the Warriors to make the 8 this season after their great year last year. The second game on Friday night sees my Parramatta Eels take on the Melbourne Storm at CommBank Stadium, 8 p.m. So the Eels had a bye last week. The Storm got the win over the Roosters, 24 points to 8, and they are flying at the moment, the Melbourne Storm. They are 4 points clear on the ladder above the Panthers, so they look like they potentially are going to get that minor premiership. They are on the second line of betting in the premiership behind the Panthers, who are favourites. But to these two sides now, a lot of changes to this Parramatta side. Obviously, Mitchell Moses is out for the season. Charlie Geimer, who burst onto the scene, he is out for the season as well. So some forced changes there. Junior Paulo as well, he is out for the season as well. So another forced change there as well. Dijon Arce comes in for Mitchell Moses. He played the last game against the Gold Coast at number 7. Obviously, Mitch was in Origin camp, and we would have expected Mitch to be back for this one, but obviously, unfortunately, he got that injury to his bicep. Sean Russell comes onto the wing to replace Lorenzo Mulatalo. Bryce Cartwright and Sean Lane are named to start after coming off the bench against the Titans. Joey Lussick and Makahesi Makatoa have been added to the interchange bench as well. So, look, this Parramatta side, Matt Arthur is named at number 19. Ethan Sanders at number 18. We all know he is going to the Canberra Raiders next year. Look, I said it probably when Mitchell got injured the first time, that you bring up your second-ranked halfback in the club. Usually back in the old days, it was if your first grade halfback got injured, you bring up the reserve grade halfback to first grade. That didn't happen straight away, but that's what I would have done. I just would have put Ethan Sanders in at 7. Matt Arthur, look, I would have had him on the bench instead of Joey Lussick. I think he's got a bright future, and I hope he stays at Parramatta. And I don't think that he has done anything wrong in his couple of games for the Eels now. So a bit disappointing to see him on the interchange belt, number 19, and not in this squad. Luca Moretti, he's on the bench. Wiramu Greg comes from New South Wales Cup into the front row position. Hopefully he can make an impact in the game, as he's been playing New South Wales Cup of late. For the Melbourne Storm, Cameron Munster is listed at number 20 on the extended bench there. So whether he comes back, who knows? He had obviously had that groin injury that kept him out of Origin since round 11. Christian Welsh is back. Big Nelson, from a hamstring injury, he returns on the bench. So Christian Welsh and Big Nelson return on the interchange bench. Alec McDonald makes way. Also, Joe Chan is suspended. So, look, a massive ask for the Parramatta Eels to get this win in front of their home fans. They're going to do it tough without Mitchell Moses, their best player, in my opinion. So look, they are going to do it tough. Not really sure what sort of a crowd will be there on Friday night. But look, the way this Melbourne Storm team is travelling, look, this could get ugly, unfortunately, for the Parramatta Eels. Look, I hope it doesn't. I hope they do stand up to the Melbourne Storm. Unfortunately, though, we did not see that at Magic Round. It was 48 points to 16 win to the Melbourne Storm up there at Suncorp Stadium. And look, it's a tale of the tape, really. The last 5 games, Melbourne are 5 from 5. The Eels are 0 from 5. So, tale of the tape there. Last season as well, the Melbourne Storm got the victory 46 points to 16. So, it's maybe something coincidental there. Maybe it might be the same sort of scoreline on Friday night. I hope not. Look, my heart says Parramatta, but my head, if I want to win a tipping competition, which I've got no chance of winning this year because I'm going pretty useless, only 57% right last week, so 4 out of 7. I need the points. I'm not going to win any tipping comps. I'm just like Parramatta at the moment. I'm not going to make the finals. So I will tip the Melbourne Storm in that one. Moving on to Saturday, 3 p.m. at Suncorp Stadium sees the Brisbane Broncos take on the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs. And look, how good is it to see the Bulldogs going well? 6th position on the ladder at the moment. A loss against North Queensland last weekend, 20 points to 18, so a very close game there. The Broncos, they snapped a 6-game losing streak, I think it was, 30 points to 14 over the Newcastle Knights, so they got back in the winner's circle. I don't know if they can make the finals. They are on 20 points. They're going to have to go close to winning every single game and results go their way. So some couple of big games against the Titans and the Dolphins, I think. They are playing Parramatta up there at Suncorp. They will definitely circle that one as a win, or a game that they should win anyway. I think they may have the Melbourne Storm last round as well. Something like that, I think. Don't quote me. I could be wrong about that one. But for them, Selwyn Cobbo comes back from a groin injury, so Corey Oates drops to 18th man. Brendan Piakura, who is listed among the reserves, he did suffer a groin injury against the Knights, but his place in the starting lineup has been taken by Kobe Hetherington in the second row. Blake Moser is the new man on the bench, so good to see him. He goes all right. He played a game a couple of weeks ago, I think scored a try as well, so good to see there. Just a one change for the Bulldogs. Chris Patolo is not in the side. Drew Hutchinson is listed among the reserves as he looks to return from a hamstring injury, but that's on the extended bench. So they have probably settled on their halves for now, Matt Burton and Toby Sexton, so I don't know if Drew will get a start for the rest of the year, unfortunately. But he is pretty good cover just in case. But I think the Bulldogs have got it right there in the halves at the moment with Matt Burton and Toby Sexton. So, look, this will be a good game because the Bulldogs, if you look at the ladder, they are 6th on the ladder. They have been playing better footy than the Broncos this season. Just one more win than the Broncos. But they really have stuck it well. They have, I think, the second best defence in the competition. So defence is going to win you games of NRL. So they have been playing really well this year. The Broncos, they snapped their losing streak last weekend against the Newcastle Knights. They get a couple of troops back. It's playing at Suncorp Stadium, 3 p.m. This will be a really entertaining game. I think. If the weather is good, I haven't checked that one, but 3 p.m. Suncorp Stadium. If the weather is good, this could be a really high-scoring game. The last time these two sides met, this is the first time this year that they have met. The Broncos got the win 44 points to 24, but we have seen that this Bulldogs side is a different side to the one from last year. Look, a really tough one to choose, this one. A really tough one to choose. Look, I'm going to go the Bulldogs. Yeah, I'm going to go the Bulldogs. I could be wrong there, but I'm going to go the Bulldogs in this one. I know the Broncos got the win last week, and they will be desperate to get this win, but look, I just think the Bulldogs might get this win. That could be the upset win of the round. Cowboys and Sharks is the next game on Saturday, 5:30 p.m. at Queensland Country Bank Stadium up in Townsville. The Cowboys, they got a win last week just over the Bulldogs, the last team I was talking about just there. The Sharks, they had the bye. They sit in third position on the ladder at the moment, so this will be a really good game as well, and potentially a bearing on that top 8 for this week anyway, with the Cowboys on 24 points, and as I said before, a few of those other teams on 24 points and 22 as well, so this will definitely have a bearing on the top 8 this weekend anyway. Look, for the Cowboys, they have there's only one change, so, and basically it is Jackson Pudo is named to start at centre with Val Holmes on the wing. So look, that's the only change in this side. Valentine Holmes played Origin on the wing. Murray Tuolagi is listed among the reserves as he looks to return from a hamstring injury. Maybe just one more week for him. For the Sharks, we've got another debut in the NRL. Liam Ison makes his NRL debut in the place of suspended Will Kennedy. We saw a couple of weeks ago there, unfortunately, Will pushed a referee, I guess. There was a lot of controversy about that, whether it was an accident, whether it could have been averted or not. But unfortunately, that happened, and he has copped a suspension for that one. Sifa Talakai, he returns on the bench from a one-game suspension as well. Still no Nico Hines, as he is out for a while. So Braden Trindle has that halfback role. Daniel Atkinson in the halves as well. Look, I think this just might be home ground advantage, I think the Cowboys might get this win. They'll get a little bit of confidence about beating the Bulldogs last weekend. So I think this could be home ground advantage. The Sharks, coming off a bye, they might be a little bit underdone. But look, I'm going to go the Cowboys in this one. That win last week would have given them confidence, and I just think they will get this one against the Sharks, which, as I said before, will they can only fall down to fourth spot if the Roosters win this weekend. Now, speaking of the Roosters, that is the next game at Allianz Stadium. The Roosters take on the Sea Eagles, which will be a cracker of a game. We saw the Sea Eagles have a big win at 4 Points Park last week against the Gold Coast Titans. They sit in 5th position now, the Roosters 4th. So it's 4th versus 5th at Allianz Stadium. The Roosters in 4th spot, the Sea Eagles in 5th spot. Now, for the Roosters, it is the same team that went down to the Storm, so the same 17 men that lost to the Storm 24 points to 8. And look, it is the same squad, but just a few changes. So Spencer Leniu and Lindsay Collins, who were named they are named to start after they came off the bench in Melbourne. So that was, I guess, a bit of a thing just 3 days after the State of Origin decider, which was a brutal, brutal game. Unfortunately, Lehigh Hopewadi is out due to an eye socket injury, which sees Tommy Talau push out to the wing. Ben Travojevic, who came back last week, played, I think, bit of back row. He's moved to the centres. Corey Waddell comes into the back row as well. So, Daniela Paseka, he is named to start at prop after returning from injury via the bench last week. I think that was a finger injury. And Toa Sipley goes to the interchange bench. So, look, Tom Travojevic still back at fullback there. Obviously, with Kula and out injured, got to have Tommy at fullback. There was a lot of talk whether he should move positions into the centres or not, but when you've got a player like Tom Travojevic fit and firing, I guess you've got to put him at fullback. That is probably his best position, and if Manly are going to do anything in this competition, which people may think that they might make the top four, he needs to be at fullback. So, look, Manly, couple of wins the last couple of weeks. They have played the 3 wins in a row. They beat the Cowboys by 1 point, smashed the Knights 44 points to 6, and also beat the Titans 38 points to 8. Both games at Brookvale. The Roosters, they were travelling along quite well. 4 from 5 games, lost to the Storm last weekend, which asks a few questions. I think they've won something like 1 out of their last 20 against the Storm and Panthers, going back to, I think it's 2020. So a lot of questions are being asked. Can they beat those 2 top teams in this competition? Only time will tell, I guess. But to this game, these 2 sides have met this year, and the Roosters went down on that occasion 21 points to 14 to the Sea Eagles. So the Sea Eagles have a little bit of an advantage this year anyway. So, look, the Roosters go into this game favourites. I think the Roosters will get this win. It's a bit of a semi-final feel about it, but I think the Roosters, they'll bounce back after losing to the Storm last week. And this could be the game of the round as well. I mean, there's some cracking games this weekend. Look, just jumping ahead. Look, the Roosters, Sea Eagles, the Bulldogs, Broncos, they're probably 2 of the better games. Probably all, actually, I'll tell you what, all games on Saturdays. It is certainly a Super Saturday because they are probably the most important games of the weekend, just looking at it now. Bulldogs and Broncos, Cowboys, Sharks, Roosters, Sea Eagles. So it is going to be a cracker of a Saturday in the NRL. So just recapping now, I'm going to tip the Roosters in that one. So that moves over to Sunday and sees the Dragons take on the Panthers. Now, last week the Dragons had a bye. The Panthers, they got the win with that return of Nathan Cleary with that 45-metre field goal, 2-point field goal in Golden Point to defeat the Dolphins. So this game being played down at WIN Stadium, where I have said before that the Dragons do get they do grow an extra leg, so to speak. That I guess you could say, well, they do say that Cogra is their spiritual home, but I think they do play better down at WIN Stadium. So Zach Lomax and Ben Hunt come back into this side, obviously after Origin and the Dragons having the bye the week before. So that is great news for the Dragons. Zach Lomax was one of the better players for New South Wales during that Origin series. So great to see those 2 players back for the Dragons. For the Panthers, Look, they do get some big troops back. They get Jerome Luai, Liam Martin, Isaiah Yeo, and Brian To'o, who are back on deck after being rested after that Origin game. But unfortunately, Dylan Edwards remains sidelined with that knee injury. I think 2 to 4 weeks he'll be missing. So a little bit of a loss there, but gee, you get those other players back. What a hard team to beat this weekend. Dane Laurie retains that fullback spot for the Panthers. And good to see Mav Geyer on the interchange bench as well, number 17 there. So great to see him there. Look, the Dragons got the win over the Panthers last time on the Panthers' home ground. And look, it was an interesting game. The Origin players were out, but we have seen previously when the Origin players are out that the people who replace them step it up and they generally get the win. But the Dragons on that day, they just played really good footy and they got the win. And it was all the back. They believed that they could do it. And look, it was a great game. No Nathan Cleary on that occasion as well, but he is back. So this is a completely different side that took the Panthers side that took the field that day to this day. And so in that fact, as I said, the Dragons, they do play a lot better down at Wollongong. I don't know what it is, but they are going to do it tough. Even getting their good player, their best players back, Ben Hunt and Zach Lomax. The Panthers, they just get some firepower back. So I'm going to tip the Panthers in that one, unfortunately. Sorry, Flano. I hope you can beat the Panthers. I wish you luck. The next game on Sunday. So 4 games in a row there that could be really, really good. The Dolphins taking on the Titans. Now, the Dolphins, they have slid down the ladder a little bit. They do go into the game as favourites in 7th spot. This game being played at Suncorp Stadium. I guess it's a Queensland derby, so against the Gold Coast, so they may get a big crowd there. Sunday afternoon, 4:05 p.m. The Titans in 15th spot. They had that loss against Manly last weekend. Unfortunately, they got smashed 38-8. Previous to that, they'd played their 3 wins in that one. So they beat the Eels, the Sharks, and the Warriors. They put that massive score on them. So they are 3 from their last 5. The Dolphins, who they lost to the Panthers last weekend. They are 2 out of their last 5. So at the moment, you would think that the Titans are playing better footy. But this is a crucial game for the Dolphins as they sit on 24 points in 7th position. The Titans, they are on 18 points. They won't make the finals, I do not think. They sit in 15th position on the ladder. So a really crucial game for the Dolphins just to stay in that top 8. As I said at the start of this podcast, the Eels 25, Bulldogs 24, Dolphins 24, Cowboys 24, Dragons 24, Raiders 22. So a really crucial game for the Dolphins to stay in contention for their first finals series. They go into the game with the same 17, with Sean O'Sullivan again listed as 18th man. And the Titans, Coach Des Hasler sticks with the same 17 as well. So, unfortunately, AJ Brimson is still on the sideline as he continues to rehab a groin injury. So, two same teams that played last week. So, this will be a interesting game. Could be a high-scoring game, to be honest. the last time they played, the Dolphins got the win 30 points to 14. That was this year, early on in March. This year, close game last year, 23 points to 21. The Dolphins got that win. So they played 3 times, and it is 3 wins to the Dolphins. So the Dolphins are the Dolphins the bogey side of the Titans? It seems to look like it. Will it be 4th time lucky for the Titans? Who knows? But I am going to tip the Dolphins in this one. The next game on Sunday sees the Canberra Raiders take on the South Sydney Rabbitohs, 6:15 p.m. at GIO Stadium in Canberra. Might say here good, fine conditions down there, but it will probably be cold. 6:15 p.m. It will be cold down there. The Canberra Raiders got a win against the Warriors, 20 points to 18 last week. After previous to that, 4 losses. The South Sydney Rabbitohs, they are trying to go on a charge to make the top 8. They sit on 20 points. They are in 12th position. They believe that they can make the 8. But, look, it's going to be really tough. They dropped a game a couple of weeks ago against the Dolphins, 36 points to 28. Previous to that, they're 4 out of their last 5. The Raiders, they were going okay. They have slipped out of the 8 now. They are 1 out of their last 5. So, going to be pretty tough for them. I think they are having the same side that got home against the Warriors. And there's only one change to the South Sydney side that beat the West Tigers. Michael Cheekham moves into the centres. He replaces Richie Kenner, who suffered a head knock. Jacob Host also comes into the second row. So, look, going to be tough for the Rabbitohs to make the 8. They will play as if they can make the 8. The Raiders on 22 points. They will not want to miss this opportunity, a home game, to get the victory, to get a win against the Rabbitohs. This, again, another cracker of a game, I think. 2 desperate teams to get the win. I think I'm going to tip the Rabbitohs in this one. I think the away side might get the win in this one. So I'm just going to tip the Rabbitohs in this one. And the Newcastle Knights have the bye this weekend in the NRL. And now, look, I've got a bit of a special guest in the house. They are going to give their tips because this season my tipping has been very, very bad this year. I have not been able to get a perfect round so far. So, look, I thought for these last few rounds of the competition, let's have some fun. Let's introduce a special tipper. Let me introduce, who do we have in the house now? Me. So I've got my daughter Ella in the house. She's going to give her tips of this weekend. And look, I tell you what, listeners, I'm going to go with her tips and see if she is better than me. So a 10-year-old, see if she can get better tips than me. So, look, we'll start off with the Warriors taking on the West Tigers in New Zealand. Who are you going to go for?
Probably the Warriors.
Warriors, good choice there. Eels versus the Storm at Parramatta.
Probably the Storm.
Storm, okay, yeah, wise choice there. Broncos and Bulldogs up at Queensland.
Probably Broncos.
Broncos, okay, yeah. I actually went the Bulldogs, but that's okay. I'm going to go with your tips this week. So the Broncos. Okay, the next game, Cowboys versus the Sharks.
I think the Sharks.
Sharks, okay. I went the Cowboys, but that's okay. What have we got next? We've got the Roosters taking on the Sea Eagles. So, Roosters and Sea Eagles. Who you got in that one?
Probably Roosters.
Roosters, okay, yes, I went the Roosters in that one. Now, I know who you're going to tip in this one.
Yeah.
Dragons and Panthers.
Panthers.
Okay, I knew you were going to tip that one because you are a Panthers fan.
Yeah.
Dolphins and Titans. Who you got in that one?
Probably Titans.
Titans, okay.
Even
Interesting.
though Dolphins could, win, but
Yeah.
You know.
No, I tipped the Dolphins, but I'm going to go with your tips this weekend.
Okay.
So the Titans, they got a good chance. The Raiders and the Rabbitohs.
Rabbitohs.
Okay, so let's recap Ella's tips there. We've got the Warriors, we've got the Storm. You went the Broncos,
Yeah.
the Sharks,
Yeah.
the
Roosters.
Roosters, Panthers, Titans, and Rabbitohs.
Yep.
Okay, so just recapping again there quickly. You've gone the Warriors, Storm, Broncos, Sharks, Roosters, Panthers, Titans, Rabbitohs.
Yep.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So I'm going to enter those tips in my tipping competitions this weekend, and let's track your success this weekend, and we'll see how you go. And look, if you've had fun now, we might even do it again next weekend. Now, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I've had fun.
Okay, we'll do it again next week. So, look, you have heard my tips. So, just saying my tips, I'm going to go the Warriors, Storm, Bulldogs, Cowboys, Roosters, Panthers, Dolphins, Rabbitohs. But I'm going to enter in Ella's tips. So, we'll see how we go this weekend. Look.
Yep.
Thank you very much for listening. Really appreciate it. Enjoy your footy over the weekend. May your team win. May you get a perfect round as well. Let's see how my tips go this week, or Ella's tips go this weekend. And enjoy your footy.
Hello, Paracave podcast listeners. My name is Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty and long-term sponsor of the Paracave podcast. If you're looking to sell your property or buy, or just curious to know what your property is worth in today's market, give me a call today on 0421 588 445.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.